We are now moving on to the public hearing section of our agenda. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Article 80C-7 of the Boston Zoning Code, to consider the proposed Fifth Amendment to the development plan for planned development area number 67 Olmsted Green in the Mattapan neighborhood of Boston. This hearing was duly advertised on November 30th, 2022 in the Boston Herald. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We're taking support and opposition at the same time, so if you're planning to testify, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click on the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for oral testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain, and at that time, please conclude your remarks so the hearing may continue and others may be heard. At the conclusion of all oral testimony, any email testimony will be read aloud. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal if they so desire. And Ms. Sarah Black will now begin the presentation. Sarah.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, members of the board, Director Jemison, and Secretary Paulinas. My name is Sarah Black, and I'm a Senior Project Manager at the BPDA. We are here today before you to discuss the Fifth Amendment to the Development Plan for Planned Development Area number 67, Olmsted Green in Mattapan, and the associated Notice of Project Change, both of which were filed on October 18th of this year. The Olmsted Green PDA is a 42.5-acre site, which was originally approved on January 26, 2006. The Fifth Amendment of the Development Plan and the Notice of Project Change propose an expansion of the Brook Mattapan School location.
今晚咧係大家咧就係有翻譯，咁咧亦都係咧。
Secretary Paulinas, can we maybe mute that person? Oh, there you go. Okay, let's get back to it. Sarah.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that. I'm going to start from the top of that paragraph. The Olmsted Green PDA is a 42.5-acre site which was originally approved on January 26, 2006. The Fifth Amendment to the Development Plan and the Notice of Project Change propose an expansion of the Brook Mattapan School located at 150 American Legion Highway to house additional administrative and elective spaces with a total increase in square footage of approximately 12,600 square feet. The 12,600 square foot addition will include specialty classrooms, administrative spaces, and various support spaces. The BPDA hosted a public meeting virtually on November 10th to discuss the PDA amendment and the Notice of Project Change. The comment period subsequently closed on December 2nd. At this point, I would like to hand it off to my colleague, Adriana, the neighborhood planner for Mattapan, to present the planning context for the project, followed by a presentation from the development team. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening, members of the board, Director Jemison, and Secretary Paulinas. My name is Adriana Lasso-Harrier, and I'm a neighborhood planner covering Mattapan. This project is situated in the Olmsted Green Planned Development Area, which was approved by the BRA and adopted by zoning in 2006. The Olmsted Green Planned Development Area provides for the construction of a mixed-use development known as the Olmsted Green Project, including residential, senior housing, community facilities, mental health program space, urban farming, retail, open space, accessory parking, and recreational facilities. As set forth in the development plan, the Olmsted Green Project involved the development on the site of multiple buildings and facilities containing a total combined gross floor area of approximately 851,000 square feet. Furthermore, this project lays within the Olmsted Green Smart Growth Overlay District, which was established in 2007 to encourage diverse housing developments with various housing and transportation options within Mattapan. This current Notice of Project Change proposes an addition to the Brook Mattapan Charter School, the development of which was included in the Second Amendment to the Development Plan and approved and adopted in 2012. I will also note Plan Mattapan, an ongoing neighborhood planning study which is currently taking place in the neighborhood and seeks to chart a more equitable future for Mattapan through the development of more affordable housing, business opportunities, and enhance connections to jobs and community spaces. Although this project lays outside the planned study area boundaries, planning staff did refer to draft recommendations and community feedback centered on a vision for Mattapan's corridors and enhanced green space. Next slide. During review, BPDA planning staff focused on the proposed parking layout and green space character along American Legion Highway. If approved, the proponent will undergo subsequent design review process to ensure that a robust green buffer be maintained along American Legion Highway, as well as a Boston Smart Utilities review. I'll now turn it over to the development team for their presentation.
I guess I'll go first. Good evening, everyone. Excuse me. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Katie Ferrier, and I'm speaking as part of the AirShow team on behalf of Brook Charter School. We are really excited to be able here to continue our past relationship with Brook at American Legion Highway, located at the edge of Mattapan and Dorchester neighborhoods. This edition is our third with Brook on this campus, so starting with the renovation of this building at 150, and the exact cleanup our community center approximately 2 years ago. Then expanding to the high school, which is just next door. And finally, this addition, which will offer the school additional education space to support their currently grades K to 8. Go to the next slide. So this is an existing site, so you can see 150 to the right and 200 to the left. Immediately to the back of the site, there is some open space. There's a turf field, basketball courts, and play areas. Next slide. Here you can see some existing photos from the site from different angles. The upper right-hand corner was actually about 10 years ago when the school opened. Going into the one in the lower right-hand corner was just this past winter. Next slide. This is a series of coordination meeting and outreach that we did with the BPDA, including the community meeting that we had in November that was mentioned. Next slide. This is a site plan that shows really the general of the site. So the area that you see that's outlined in red is the limit of work. So the addition is primarily located in the back of the site. We are adding onto the existing building. There is some renovation interior, but primarily it's addition to the outside. Additionally, you can see there was some playground space that was relocated to the east. And then in the back, you can see the basketball court and some exterior areas are highlighted. As part of the construction activities, the construction manager that we've been working with will be highlighting the areas they can highlight in order to have safe construction activities. So there will be fencing and access that will be separated from the occupied school so that both the school and the construction can happen on the same site at the same time. I'll point to the right so you can see that's kind of the breakdown of the general scope of the building. There is a little bit of demolition, but primarily addition, adding up to approximately 12,000 square feet. Next slide. So the grade level, what you see here is the cafeteria. So the addition is primarily, we have a cafeteria in the servery and a new access at the lowest level. The other spaces that you see that are shaded in blue are the current cafeteria that will be renovated into classroom spaces. And then next slide. And then level 3 and 4. So the 2 upper floors are primarily classroom spaces, which are oriented toward the south. So we're highlighting daylighting and solar exposure. And then, kind of going around the sort of donut, what you see are some supporting office spaces. We have a lactation room, breakout spaces that are supporting the educational program. Next slide. So this is a view from the back of the site. So what you're seeing is the back of the building. You can see the basketball court. There's some playground just beyond. American Legion Highway is on the other side of this photo, so it's behind the building. And if you can go to the next slide. So this is a rendering of what it will look like once the addition has been built. So what you can see here at grade is the cafeteria and servery space. We're maximizing the height. We have basically 1.5 stories of space. So we're taking advantage of that height for lots of glass. There is an awning that goes around the exterior for some shading. And then levels 3 and 4 are the classroom spaces that we highlighted before. So they'll have views of the basketball court and the turf to the south. One more slide. think that might be my end. And this is, I think, what we saw at the beginning, which is kind of the open side.
Okay, great, thank you. As this is a public hearing, we are going to take, we'll take testimony first. Secretary Bohemus, do we have anyone who would like to testify?
Does anybody want to testify either in support or opposition to this project? Please raise your virtual hand. Vincent Coyle, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Vincent Coyle. On behalf of the men and women of Iron Workers Local 7, we approved this project. We're looking forward to seeing this project move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to testify on this project? Madam Chair, I believe this concludes this public hearing.
Okay, great. Sarah, did we have anything to read in?
We do not.
Okay, perfect. Great. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a quick question, Madam Chair. Is there a CM selected or a GC yet?
There is, yes. This is going to be bid Chapter 149A. We're working with Consigli. So they were awarded the contract earlier this year, and we have been working with them to facilitate the construction activities. And currently at this point, our drawings are actually on the street and they're out to bid.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second?
Call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Ms. Mark?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Good luck with everything.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next item. Also public hearing. So this is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Section 80D-5.4 and Section 80D-9.2 of the zoning code. To consider the Fifth Amendment to the 2013 Institutional Master Plan for Harvard University's campus in Allston in connection with the proposed project 92 Seattle Street project. This hearing was duly advertised on November 30th, 2022 in the Boston Herald. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. So staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. So if you're planning on testifying, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click on the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. And what else? This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remained, and at that time, please conclude your remarks so the hearing may continue and others may be heard. At the conclusion of all oral testimony, any email testimony will be read aloud, and finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal, if they so desire. Mr. Tyler Ross will now begin the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. The proposal before you is Harvard University's Institutional Master Plan Fifth Amendment in connection with the 92 Seattle Street Small Project. The proposed project in the IMPNF amendment consists of a renovation of 56,000 square foot warehouse and institutional storage building. The proposed renovation is to provide program space for Harvard's athletic department and studio/office space for the Department of Art, Film, and Visual Studies. The 92 Seattle Street renovation will include new windows, 2 accessible entries, improves exterior envelope and installation, updated infrastructure systems, and a full interior fit out to support new program uses. Furthermore, the BPDA held 2 sponsored task force and public meetings for the project proposal in September 2022 and December 2022, both of which were well attended and advertised in local newspapers. Now I will turn it over to Yari Cortez from BPDA Planning Department to discuss the planning context before Mark Hanley from Harvard begins the presentation. Lastly, I want to say thank you to the members of the public, task force, elected officials, and city agencies who helped review the proposed Harvard University Institutional Master Plan Fifth Amendment. Thank you.
Apologies, my camera stopped working, but thank you, Tyler. Good evening, Chair Rojas, Director Jemison, Secretary Poljimes, and members of the board. My name is Yari Cortez, and I am the neighborhood planner for Austin Brighton. The proposed project is located within the planning boundaries of the 2013 Harvard Institutional Master Plan. In the review of this project, neighborhood context was key, especially the site's relation to the Austin Greenway. The proposed project has limited impacts on the site because it reutilizes the existing building, but it also successfully responds to and connects to the Austin Greenway in the areas of pedestrian scale connections, accessibility, and climate resiliency. This is accomplished through purposeful landscape design and connects without encroaching to the Arena Park and enhancing current recreational and civic uses of this space. New accessible entrances to the building strengthen pedestrian connections from North Harvard Street through Arena Park to Science Drive. And energy efficient upgrades such as an all-electric HVAC system, which will eliminate fossil fuel reliance in the operation of the building. Overall, this project improves the current conditions of the site while respecting the surrounding greenscape. I will now turn the presentation over to the proponent team to present the project in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Yari, and thank you, Tyler. My name is Mark Handley. I'm the Director of Government Affairs and Community Relations at Harvard University. Madam Chair, board members, Secretary Poljimes, and Director Jamieson, it's great to be here with you tonight. I'm here to talk about 92 Seattle Street, which is an institutional project and requires amending our current IMP. You see here on the map the area of focus that we're zooming in on. You see 92 Seattle Street on the left, but also adjacency to Harvard's Greenway. This renovation of the existing building will allow us to continue our effort to build out the next link of the Greenway, which is right south of the Science and Engineering Complex. And it will also relate to the development of homeownership and affordable housing at 65 Seattle Street, which is also shown within the black box on the map that's displayed right now. Next slide, please. So zooming a little more onto the Greenway, you see 92 Seattle Street here near the center of the graphic. Ray Malone Park and Rena Park are the first two links of existing Harvard Greenway. And in the gold arrows, you see how the public accesses the park in the green space currently. We have developed a pathway network, and the renovation of this 92 Seattle Street building will allow for us to continue that pathway network over an area which right now is not particularly friendly for use, and we foresee a great upgrade to. Next slide, please. So here's the existing condition. You see at the top of the picture here where Rena Park ends and the temporary condition connecting to the back of the Science Plaza begins. What we have here is an active storage warehouse with 4 loading docks, and we're looking to give this building a significant upgrade to accommodate new institutional uses and to set the stage for a great upgrade and extension of Harvard's Greenway. Next slide, please. So we're about to go through 3 views of the existing condition. On all 3 of these pictures here, you can see those loading docks. We need to get rid of those and upgrade this building in order to proceed with creating more connectivity, green and open space in the area. Right to the to the north, which is the right of the top picture, is the Science and Engineering Complex Foundation and landscaped backyard. Next slide, please. These are pictures looking into Rena Park, which is of course in its finished condition, and again showing the existing loading docks. Inside this building currently is cold storage that supports Harvard's institutional activities, but it's really a storage building right now. Next slide, please. Here's another view from Rena Park that shows the north side of the building adjacent to the green space. Next slide, please. And again, the existing condition with the loading docks that I mentioned. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So here is what we're dealing with currently. The area that's on the right of this picture that you see storage, that's the area of the building that we're overhauling here. There is an adjacent warehouse as well, and also adjacent staff support area that won't be touched. But the majority of this structure that you're looking at right now will be renovated, and you can see the existing condition, basically storage areas on the bottom here. Next slide, please. This is a graphic indicating the limit of work. We are keeping the landscape functional, and we're keeping the improvements rather close to the building because we have to administer and participate in a design process that's community informed and coming up soon to develop a design for this future link of the Greenway. So what you see in red is the limit of work here for this specific project. And this is the proposed users and use. So you've got the new accessible entry to the north and also to the east of the building. The major spaces are for the Art, Film, and Visual Studies group at Harvard University and Harvard's golf program. There's also space for Harvard Real Estate and a common space for the users of the building. This is a rendering of what we're doing with those loading docks that I mentioned. We're creating a lot of porosity and visibility in and out of the building. I want to mention that I'm joined tonight by Anthony Paprocki of ADP Architects. Anthony is the architect on the team and has been leading our design efforts. Next slide, please. We've got some elevations of the existing building that's being, of the proposed condition. Next slide, please. These are north and south elevations. The north of the building is adjacent to an area where Harvard University buses have a lot of activity. The south, of course, is adjacent to the green space that we showed earlier. Next slide, please. These are renderings of the east-facing side of the building and the south-facing side of the building where new windows are being added to create more activity and more of a relationship with the existing park. Next slide, please. This was the picture that was on the front of our project filing. Next slide, please. I think that's it for the run of renderings. And again, if I was to highlight one element of that last picture, there is new engagement and fenestration on the park. We received a lot of great feedback from the Harvard Alston Task Force, and we're able to agree to a number of benefits to support this project. It does require an amendment to the approved master plan. Harvard will be committing an additional $100,000 to the Harvard Alston Partnership Fund grant cycle, which I hope will be, the recommendation will be in front of the BPDA board in the very near term future. There's an existing $100,000 commitment, and associated with this project, an additional $100,000 that we can deploy right away. We're also going to offer and test out some golf lessons for Alston Brighton community members, and we have committed to procuring with a local artist a mural adjacent to the park. I want to thank the task force, thank Councilor Braden and our officials in Alston Brighton, and thank the BPDA for helping us through this. That's the conclusion of the presentation. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. So, as a public hearing, we'll first go to any testimony. So, Secretary Polhemus, do we have anyone that would like to testify?
If you would like to testify, please raise your virtual hand. Anybody want to testify? Okay. Elevin, you can unmute yourself.
Hey there, my name's Eric Levin. Been a neighbor in the Seaport Fort Point area since 2005, street level commercial business owner since.
I'm sorry, sir, we're talking about Harvard right now. Did you want to testify on Seaport Square?
No, I'm sorry. I have kids in the background, so I just heard, do you want to testify? And I said, you know what, I'm up, so my apologies. I'll
No,
come
that's
back
okay.
later.
No, okay, thank you.
Yeah, give us like 10-ish minutes. Great. So let's see, any other raised hands?
Nope, there are no other raised hands.
Okay.
I believe this finishes.
Okay, thank you. Do we have, Tyler, any letters to email, anything to read out?
Yeah, there were no letters emailed.
Thank you. And finally, questions or comments from the board? All right, hearing and seeing none. Motion is in order.
So moved. Second?
Call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Dr. Schwartz?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you to the whole team. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Okay, so next public hearing. So this is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as the Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with Article 80C-5 of the Boston Zoning Code, to consider the proposed, the First Amendment to the amended and restated development plan for Planned Development Area Number 78, Seaport Square Project, and associated notice of project change for the proposed project. This hearing was duly advertised on December 1st, 2022 in the Boston Herald. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time, so if you're planning to testify, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click the hand icon on your Zoom control panel, and this will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. So if you're calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. At the conclusion of all oral testimony, any email testimony will be read aloud. Finally, the proponents are allowed a period of 5 to 10 minutes for rebuttal if they so desire, and Mr. Nick Carter will now begin the presentation. Nick.
Thank you again, Madam Chair, members of the board, Director Jemison, and Secretary Polhemus. I'm here before you to present the Notice of Project Change and Planned Development Area Amendment for Seaport Square. The NPC and PDA amendment, which were filed in May of 2022, contemplate a change of use at the remaining yet-to-be-built blocks F, G, L3, and L6, as well as adding a number of retail amenity uses, such as dentist offices in the PDA. Originally proposed as residential, retail, and civic uses, Block G will now contain office and research, as well as the originally proposed retail and civic uses. The previously approved affordable residential units will be transferred to blocks L3 and L6. Blocks L3 and L6, previously approved for residential, retail, and hotel uses, will now contain residential and retail uses in both buildings, as well as office and research uses in block L3. Overall, there will be 600 residential units in the 2 buildings and 170 units of affordable housing, an increase of 4 affordable units from what was previously approved, made available at area median incomes at a range of 60 to 80%, where previously all affordable units would be available at only 70%. The previously approved retail block F, next to the Seaport Commons, will now be eliminated entirely from the project, and instead, the space will now be used to increase Seaport Commons by nearly 70% from what exists today. Additionally, WS will be placing a number of protections on the open space to keep it in perpetuity, and is committed to a public design process for the new space. In addition to the above changes, WS has committed that all buildings will meet all current requirements for sustainability and resilience at the time of design, and for any laboratory uses to be consistent with the BPDA's November 2002 Life Sciences Action Agenda. The project will also fund the design and installation of protective measures for the currently paint-only bicycle lanes on the Evelyn-Moakley Bridge to further extend the more than 1.5 miles of protected cycling infrastructure that the proponent has either completed or will be constructing in connection with the overall project's development. And in an effort to further the goals set forth in the South Boston Seaport Strategic Transit Plan, WS has committed $250,000 to support a last-minute shuttle service serving the South Boston waterfront area. Overall, this MPC brings a number of benefits to the area, increasing open space within the city, providing more affordable housing, and making significant contributions to the future transportation infrastructure. Before I turn to Yanni Sipsis from the WS team, I will ask Andrew from our planning staff to take you through the planning context.
Thank you, Nick. Good evening, everyone. Chair Rojas, Secretary Paul Jimenez, members of the board. My name again is Andrew Namias, and I'm a neighborhood planner covering the South Boston waterfront. In reviewing this project, BPDA staff considered the neighborhood context, recent district plans, including the South Boston Seaport Strategic Transit Plan, adopted citywide plans, including Imagine Boston 2030 and Go Boston 2030, as well as public feedback. Next slide. Key considerations of planning staff during review included increasing affordability, the resilience of the project to sea level rise and coastal storms, ensuring green and efficient building construction, reducing carbon emissions through the reduction of parking spaces, fulfilling mobility goals for the area with increased bike lanes, new TNC zones, and EV charging, and as Nick mentioned, the expansion of the project's open space into a larger public park that will be designed through a public process. I will now turn the presentation over to the proponent team to present the project in more detail.
Thank you very much, Nick and Andrew. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Thank you very much. Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Director Jemison, Secretary Delimas. My name is Yanni Sipis from WS Development, and as always, it's both a pleasure and a privilege to appear before this board. And we thank you very much for the opportunity to present our proposed updates to Seaport Square. So as you may recall, as Nick introduced, Seaport Square is a 20-city block, 23-acre master plan at the heart of the South Boston waterfront neighborhood. We've been working on this project for many years and undertook a master planning effort with the agency back in 2017 to help chart the course for the future of this neighborhood. And today, about half the buildings within the master plan have been completed, along with new public open spaces and lots of infrastructure. We have 3 buildings under construction currently and another 5 buildings left to go in the current plan. And to start, we just wanted to provide a very brief recap of some of our current activity in the neighborhood on a few slides. Next slide, please. One building that we just completed is 111 Harbor Way, which also includes an acre of public open space, a 24/7 public space within the building, and numerous public art installations. Next slide, please. Currently under construction is 1 Boston Wharf Road, which is a beautiful green terracotta building designed by Henning Larsen Architects from Copenhagen. This contains commercial space that's fully leased, retail space, and a 600-seat performing arts center, which will be a wonderful cultural addition to the neighborhood. This building will also be the largest net zero carbon office building in Boston when it's completed in 2024. Next slide, please. Across the street, we have 400 Summer Street under construction. This building will be the world headquarters of Foundation Medicine, a firm that is revolutionizing cancer care around the world. It's designed by Morris Adjemi Architects, and it's intended to blend in contextually with the adjacent Fort Point Channel Landmark District. This building will bring over 1,000 new jobs to Boston and will be completed next year. Next slide, please. Also under construction is a major public realm improvement. These are the Summer Steps. This is a grand stair that will finally connect the elevated Summer Street roadway with Congress Street and the rest of the South Boston Waterfront District when these stairs are completed next fall, along with an accessible route right alongside. This will provide a direct connection finally from South Station and create a really beautiful, welcoming gateway to the whole neighborhood. Next slide, please. Thank you. And along with the buildings, we've also been delivering on a large number of major mitigation and public benefits commitments. This includes everything from the reconstruction of Seaport Boulevard with new trees and bike lanes and public art, to the new Performing Arts Center that's currently under construction, to tens of millions of dollars for affordable housing and jobs training and local nonprofits and various public infrastructure improvements. This is just a list of what's been fulfilled to date. Next slide, please. Thank you. And as we've been building and observing this neighborhood for the past, say, 5 or 6 years, we've learned a lot. And it's rare in Boston to have the opportunity to sort of take a pause on a long-term project and apply lessons learned along the way. But that's exactly what we have an opportunity to do with this notice of project change before you this evening, as we look at the remaining development sites within our project boundary, which are illustrated here in the turquoise color. Next slide, please. And we've observed, as we've observed, the sort of the way this neighborhood works, the buildings and the open spaces and the streets and how everything works together, we've been working with agency staff over the past year or so to develop a series of policy priorities and opportunities that inform the NPC that's before you this evening. And the opportunities include the chance to significantly increase public open space, the chance to improve sort of the visual and physical connectivity from Seaport Boulevard and the rest of the neighborhood to Boston Harbor, to the water's edge, a chance to do more around resiliency and be more responsive to climate change, a chance to increase the number of affordable housing units and the percentage of on-site affordable housing units, and also the ability to leverage the neighborhood's kind of economic development and job creation potential to provide economic opportunities as well as the housing and open space opportunities. Next slide, please. And so these policy areas have resulted in a series of proposed changes to the project that are listed here. First and foremost, we're proposing to do something that we think is maybe unprecedented in recent memory, which is to eliminate an already approved commercial building from the project and replace it with a park. This will help expand an existing adjacent open space and create a almost 1.5 acre signature public open space right at the heart of the neighborhood. We also propose several use changes to the remaining sites that Nick outlined. And although we are proposing to reduce the total residential square footage devoted to sort of the luxury or market rate housing, we're actually increasing the amount of affordable housing that will be built as part of the project to what we believe will be a new high bar for the city. 170 units of on-site affordable housing, which is 28% of the 600 residential units that will be built under this NPC. And then across the whole Seaport Square project, because of all the residential that's already been built, this will result in a total of over 400 affordable housing units, which we believe is the largest number of affordable units ever created by a single market rate project in the history of the city. And then, as Nick mentioned, we're also proposing to add some community service uses that community members have requested of us, like a doctor's office or an urgent care place or a veterinarian. That's also part of the proposal. Next slide, please. And now we'd like to share just a few details of the proposed new public open space. This plan shows the existing project approvals with the 30,000 square foot commercial building shown on the right-hand side of the park between Seaport Boulevard and Northern Avenue. It's labeled Block F Retail Building. And rather than move forward with the construction of this approved building, we're proposing to eliminate it. And you'll see the result on the next slide, please. As you can see here, the elimination of this building allows Seaport Common to be expanded by almost double and create a truly significant signature public open space that's anchored at the north by the Massachusetts Fallen Heroes Memorial. It's also served by a new MBTA Silver Line entrance that's currently under construction, which will provide direct access to the space by public transit from all of Boston's neighborhoods. And that's an incredible opportunity for this neighborhood to create something really special that will serve the whole city. And just to give you a sense of scale, this is about the same size as Copley Square in front of Trinity Church. As Nick mentioned, it's also important to note this park will be protected by a recorded deed restriction that also carries with it a maintenance obligation. And a Chapter 180 Massachusetts not-for-profit organization has been created already to oversee the maintenance of this public space. Next slide, please. Thank you. And just to give you a better sense as to what this looks like, here's an aerial view of the currently approved plan. Seaport Boulevard is at the foreground, and the currently approved building is the sort of brown-colored 3-story building on the right-hand side of the park. The NPC proposes on the next slide to eliminate this building. And here you can see the proposed plan just showing the extent of the new open space that'll open up the center of this whole neighborhood. Next slide, please. Here's a ground level view of the currently approved commercial building. Seaport Boulevard is on the left, the harbor is to your right. And on the next slide, here's a vision from that exact same location for what the future could be with a wide open public space here instead of a commercial building. Next slide, please. So just to conclude our presentation, we'd like to recap the highlights of the current proposal in terms of the many different public policy objectives that are served by the proposed changes. We're creating more public open space, creating more affordable housing, setting, we believe, citywide precedent. We're delivering major public improvements to the transportation network with new protected bike lanes, TNC zones, on-street EV chargers, last mile shuttle services, as well as a $9 million linkage payment for affordable housing. I think the slide says 7, it's 9, and $1.7 million in jobs training payments as well. And overall, these proposed changes represent a great opportunity to make this project and the whole neighborhood better and more welcoming. And we'd like to thank Director Jemison and his really terrific staff, especially our project managers, Nick Carter and Quinn Valchich, for all their hard work on this project, helping us to get to this point. And Madam Chair, board members, thank you very much for your time, and we'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, so since this is a public testimony, we'll take testimony from the public first. So Secretary Polhemus, do we have anyone who would like to testify?
Yes. Donna Brown, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman, Secretary Polhemus, members of the board, and Director Jameson for this opportunity to speak. My name is Donna Brown. I've been a member of this IAG for many years for Seaport Square, and it is really exciting to see how this neighborhood is developing, and I would like to give WS a lot of credit. I wholeheartedly support this notice of project change. I think this is going to make this Seaport Square development so much better, giving us more open space, more affordable housing, addressing some of the transportation needs. This truly is a testament to the openness of WS to make this project better and to learn as the neighborhood has been developed and people have started using the spaces there to improve and to pivot and to really make this Seaport Square neighborhood a much better place for everyone, not just people who live and work there, but for the city, for South Boston. So I just want to thank you for this opportunity to speak in favor of this notice of project change.
Thank you. Brett Clancy, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Brett Clancy. I'm a Boston resident and have worked in the Seaport for the last 7.5 years or so. Have seen the neighborhood come a long way as a result of the work WS has done here, and wanted to support the presentation as it stands tonight from the team. A lot of the things that have been said earlier, I'll just echo in terms of open public space. My coworkers and I often enjoy sitting out in the neighborhood. Just finding a nice open place to be, in 3 out of the 4 seasons a year is really nice. I think that's going to go a long way. And while the temporary activations have been awesome, it's going to be nice to have a more permanent space here in a place that you can see the trees grow in, and I think it's going to be a fantastic addition to the neighborhood. So between that and the great deal of affordable housing, that's going to go a long way in this particular part of the city as well. So I very much support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohammed Ouassami. You can unmute yourself.
Good evening. I'd like to speak on the support of this project. My name is Mohammed Ouassami. I'm a local business owner. I lived in Boston for 40 years. Raised 6 kids in Boston. I'm a member of the Islamic Center in Boston. Also, I'm a member of an organization called Bill Moran Associates, which we help Black and brown, young men in Roxbury and Dorchester, where we actually put them at trade schools. In my perspective, a community member, I appreciate the additional parking space and affordable housing this being created. As a local business owner, I'm excited about the job creation opportunity that this project will bring, especially for the immigrant to Bostonia. The Seaport is land of opportunity for us, and all of the new buildings will help create jobs, building service. And another sector where someone doesn't need a college degree to to support family with a good job, good paying jobs. WS Development has been always great partner creating this kind of jobs and hope you will consider my prospect on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Jim Souza, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, everybody, this is Jim Souza. I'm a longtime resident of Fort Point, and I also served as an IAG member on this project. I consider myself a heavy user of the seaport at various times of day and night, and I'm so impressed by what I see, the level of visitors that I see in the neighborhood, and I look forward to this being completed. You know, my biggest fear when there was nothing here still is that it was going to turn into Kendall Square, and it really hasn't. There's a ton of people around, people visit us. I love the temporary activation, and I'm sure that will all be moved into the beautiful permanent hardscaped plazas that will, when they're completed. And again, I look forward to this being completed, and I support this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Vincent Coyle, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, my name is Vincent Coyle, business agent with the Ironworkers Local 7, WS Development, and has done such a great projects within the seaport. They have lived up to the height. Everything they've come forward with this project, and on behalf of the men and women, I speak on behalf of it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone else like to testify about this project?
Madam Secretary, Paul Sullivan here for City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Director Jameson, Madam Secretary, Madam Chair, members of the board. Again, Paul Sullivan for City Council at Large, Michael Flaherty. Council would like to go on record in support of this project for three quick reasons. Number one, the large amount of open space that's been created through this proposal. Number two, the added affordables, 170 in number. And number three, the fewer luxury unit count that's been converted to commercial space with a focus on economic development. And for those three main reasons, the council would like to go on record in support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eric Levin, you can unmute yourself.
Hey, Eric Levin, longtime resident and commercial business owner in Fort Point, going on almost 20 years now. I've also been board president of the neighborhood's largest artist-only building, Midway Studios, in the past. WS has done some really outstanding things for Seaport with respect to the artists and the arts. They're very forward-thinking. It could have been a vast wasteland, and what could have been that turned into something absolutely beautiful. And you can see their efforts just as you go down Seaport Boulevard, as you see the Christmas tree and the constant community events and the efforts that they put in to engage and entertain the community. I do support this call for open space. You know, you hear it echoed at many community meetings: more open space, more open space, more open space. And as a father of two little ones, you know, this is just really great to hear, because we love to go down to Seaport. We love to hang out, and you know, we get the kids running around near the waterfront. It's just a beautiful thing for myself and many other families. So I'm in support.
Thank you, Mr. Levin. Alex Morris, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Alex Morris, and I work at the Barking Crab, and I'm on one of the anchor sides of the WS Development projects, and we are also in support of the changes being made. I was also a member of the IAG, and just now, if you go down there, you'll see that it's done a lot for the neighborhood and bringing people in and creating a really good sense of community in an area where there wasn't necessarily that same sense. So we are in support of the project.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to testify about this project? Please raise your virtual hand. Madam Chair, I believe this concludes the public hearing portion of this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Nick, do we have anything to read into?
Yes.
Yep.
You have a number of letters. From State Senator Nick Collins and State Representative David Beal. Dear Chair Rojas and members of the board, we write to you in support of WS's development notice of project change for Seaport Square. The proposal before you makes important modifications to the original Seaport Square plans. These changes include a significant increase in housing affordability, as well as a meaningful expansion of green space, open space, and retail opportunities for small business owners and entrepreneurs. Most importantly, this proposal includes the creation of the Mass Fallen Heroes Interpretive Memorial. This interactive memorial and program space will serve as an iconic civil and cultural facility badly needed in the South Boston waterfront that will educate the public for generations to come about the sons and daughters of Massachusetts who made the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom after 9/11. It is for these reasons that we'd like to go on record in support of the aforementioned proposal. Sincerely, Senator Nick Collins and State Representative David Beal. I have an additional letter from Council President Ed Flynn. Dear members of the BPDA board, I'm writing in support of the Seaport Square project in the South Boston waterfront. This project consists of developments with residential, office, laboratory, hotel, and entertainment uses, as well as a cultural and educational center. The proponent has engaged in a thorough community process and worked with neighbors to adjust the project accordingly. This project will have 600 units of housing, including 166 affordable housing units, to help working families remain in the city of Boston, which represents 28% of the total units and an increase from its initial filing. This includes more two-bedroom units, given the feedback of neighbors. Moreover, the project also incorporates a change to remove biosafety level 3 as an acceptable use for lab space in the PDA, and there is an increase in open space following feedback. Moreover, there is a commitment from the proponent to follow the public design process for the Seaport Commons redesign and to support the South Boston Waterfront Transportation Action Plan. I respectfully request that the proponent work closely with neighbors and on any concerns that arise during the construction phase, and to partner together with the district councilor, city departments, and agencies to address basic city services in open space, public and pedestrian safety, and quality of life issues in the area. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Sincerely, Ed Flynn. And I have one more letter for the evening. Lost it, hold on.
Nick, do you want me to read it?
I have it right here.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry. Thank you for bearing with me. Nick and team, I am unable to attend the IAG meeting tonight due to obligations. Please accept this letter of support for the project change. The largest driver of my support is simple: economic development. It has been incredible to watch the Seaport transform from a parking field to the most desirable neighborhood in Boston for both work and play over the past decade. Some of the biggest and most innovative names in the world have chosen to make this their home: Amazon, PTC, and Vertex, to name a few. The proposed buildings by WS leverage the existing draw by inviting even more world-class organizations right here to Boston. In turn, this brings highly skilled, highly educated, and top-quality careers for their employees to our great city. The consideration that WS has taken on the green spaces, public gathering areas, and activations throughout Seaport truly shows they care about the community, sustainability, and top-quality development equal to the economic benefit. So where do all these people live? The proposed 600 residential units complement the commercial spaces, allowing people to live where they work, cutting down on traffic, TNC congestion, and pedestrian hazards. Additionally, and a very important point for the diversity of the community, both financially and demographically, is the large number of affordable units, 28%, which is the largest affordable housing commitment ever from an active development project in Boston. Given that the affordable housing crisis is growing by the day, this is a huge step in the right direction. Thirdly, and something that is personal to me, as someone who has taken thousands of Ubers and Lyft rides in Boston, as well as being a frequent driver in and around the city, is the funding and construction of additional TNC pickup drop-off zones on Seaport Boulevard and Northern Avenue. It is no secret that TNC vehicles constantly jam up through traffic lanes during pickup and drop-off, creating dangerous traffic environments for cars and passengers alike. Thank you very much. That is the end of the letter.
That was the last one.
Nick, we had a late one from Adam Castiglione.
Oh, yes. I think I have that. Yes. Dear BPDA Board, I would like to ask the BPDA to make transferring the park next to District Hall to the City of Boston Parks Department once it is fully built a requirement for approval of the NPC. As a part of the approval of the NPC today, I would like District Hall to be made a permanent part of the Seaport. The 10-year lease until 2023 is good, but this space should be made permanent. I also urge WS not to include any lab space in any residential buildings built. I also stand opposed to the reduction of the residential space in the overall Seaport Square project included in the NPC here. Seaport needs more residential units, not less. I'm also still disappointed that there are not more public civic spaces in the overall WS Seaport Square development. The Seaport is solely lacking in places where people can gather inside when it is cold out and do not have to spend money. The BPDA board should require additional public civic spaces in the Seaport Square development in order for this NPC to be approved. The offer of WS to pay for bike lanes on the Moakley Bridge is a good first step, but this is something the city should be building and funding. I am disappointed that WS has not been able to share the exact amount of money WS is spending on these bike lanes. The city can quickly build bike lanes and should not have to rely on a private developer to fund them. Best regards, Adam Consiglione. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the end, correct? Okay, good. I mean, just, I don't know. So questions or comments from the board?
I just have a quick comment. I'd like to commend WS, Yanni, and the team for pausing, as they said, listening and then incorporating some things that are badly needed in the Seaport, and that's more open space and certainly affordable housing. So the end result is very positive, so we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We appreciate that.
Yeah, and I want to echo that and to underline that this team has demonstrated how working with community groups and listening to the voices of residents and businesses in the area really has led to some very significant project improvements. And I think WS stands as an example of a really outstanding developer within the city.
Dr. Landsmark, coming from you, that is a high honor, and we're very grateful for that commentary. Thank you.
Great. Additional questions or comments? Yeah, so I'll have one. So gosh, it's been almost 7 years now, maybe, that I've been on this board. So I can't actually remember if I approved the first or WS as the actual.
Yep.
I can't remember if I did that or if
Absolutely.
my lovely predecessors did. But I've been here for 7 years of project changes and the things and then that, and to also be hear all of what you've been hearing, right, and the concerns and from the community, from all of the city, right, on what this neighborhood was going to ultimately be like. And I guess I'll just say that, like, I am glad, whether it was me or whether it was one of our other fellow former board members, that we selected a developer that took very seriously this immense responsibility for literally building a whole freaking neighborhood, right? Like, that wasn't there from before, right? And there's just a lot of ways that you could approach that, right? I mean, you could totally say, like, hey, that was the plan, we're going to stick to the plan, right? But no, you stopped and listened. And so I just say that to echo the comments of my fellow board members. And also, I was just so moved, and I'll totally stop now and do this, but when one of our residents called Seaport Square seen like that. Yeah, with the increase of affordability, like now the land of opportunity can actually be more accessible to our residents, current and future. So I don't know. I just really felt inspired to say that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We're very, very grateful. Thank you.
Cool. So if there are no other further
I
questions,
have a question and a comment. Yeah, excellent presentation as usual, and what WS has done down there is amazing. I remember sitting in the city council chambers when we were putting the master plan together and seeing renderings and saying, right across from the convention center, WS, and how the heck are they going to build that? But my question is, you probably could get it. I know you could get it. How much money is WS given in linkage and property taxes and 100 million? I mean,
if the linkage alone has been tens of millions. The annual property tax levy is, I'm going by memory, but it's something over 100 million across the project, and we're only halfway done. So in terms of an economic engine, funding basic city services and cost of living and budget increases and some of the aspirational policy objectives, the South Boston waterfront is an economic engine for the entire city, and we, as Madam Chair, you said, we take that as a major responsibility.
it's amazing what's going on down there. I'd be curious to see, never mind the hours of work that have been provided to the building trades and apprenticeships, and this place has been going on for a while. Brian, I'm sure you remember the days when the World War II big things were stacked down there with the nets that they used to use to catch subs. And I mean, what's happened down there is unbelievable. But the property, the parking lots and everything, of course, appraisals weren't what they are today with something on it. But I'm curious to see how much annually the Seaport, but just WS pays to the city of Boston in those buildings, all those buildings. Police, fire, city services, teachers, just really been great. And the critics of Menino, when he had that vision, and people looking at all those parking lots and critical of him, saying he's got no vision. And you look about it from where it's gone to where it is today. He was talking, we're putting City Hall down there, and they were all critical of the barren land. You're going to put City Hall down there. But anyway, so great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Took a city to get it done. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome, cool. So I think we've all commented. So a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
We'll call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Dr. Mark?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes. Congratulations. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.
Oh, and Happy New Year. Okay. Last public hearing. For this one, simultaneous Chinese and Spanish interpretation are being provided for this meeting using language interpretation function within Zoom. We ask that you be patient in case of any technical issues. Language interpretation will not be enabled until instructions on how to access interpretation have been interpreted into Cantonese, Mandarin, and Spanish. Once interpretation has been enabled, a globe icon will appear. A reminder to all that are speaking today, we ask everyone speak slowly for the interpreters. If you are speaking too quickly, I may interrupt you and ask you to speak slower. Thank you. To enable interpretation for Cantonese, Mandarin, and Spanish, please click on the globe icon on the bottom of your screen, and by selecting Cantonese for Cantonese, Mandarin for Mandarin, and Spanish for Spanish. Also, you must mute original audio. So Halran and Wei, will you now please interpret the instructions that I just gave?
Hey, my name is Halran, and I am the Cantonese interpreter for tonight's meeting. 咁就今晚咧呢個見證咧就係有翻譯嘅。咁如果你哋係需要聽呢一個廣州話嘅翻譯咧，就麻煩你哋啦喺呢一個屏幕底下嗰度咧，就打開一個好似地球儀咁樣嘅圖案喺嗰度。咁點一點嗰個地球儀之後咧，就可以咧選擇呢個粵語。Cantonese 咁選擇咗粵語之後咧， 咁咧你就可以咧聽到我今晚呢一個見證會嘅廣州話嘅翻譯咁呢個咧就係你哋要做嘅事情啦唔該晒，thank you。
喂。
Hi, my name is Wei. I will be a Mandarin interpreter tonight. 大家好，我是您的普通话的翻译。如果你需要翻译的话呢，请点击屏幕下方的地球仪标记然后呢选择这个普通话Mandarin 翻译频道如果你遇到技术问题呢，请拨打这个617-918-4233，或者发送电子邮件至这个 BPDA 这个 board@boston.gov 如果所以呢，请到时候是对点击这个Zoom 的地球仪标记。如果是你用手机的或者平板电脑呢，请找到3个点，然后选择更多，然后进入这个国语翻译频道然后呢，你在听这个翻译的时候呢，你要把你原始的音频静音。OK。
Okay, thank you, Wei. And finally, Carla, will you now interpret the instructions into Spanish?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carla. I'm the Spanish interpreter. Muy buenas noches a todos. Esta reunión se está ofreciendo en español. Los servicios de español serán interpretados. Esta noche tenemos el canal de español. Usted verá un icono en la parte de abajo, el globo con la palabra interpretation, en la parte inferior de su pantalla de Zoom. Si usted se une de un celular, tendrá que hacer el clic de un botón a los 3 puntitos y entonces verá la opción Language Interpretation. Todos deben elegir en el idioma en el que desean participar. Gracias.
Gracias, Carla.
De nada.
Nisha, so will you please kindly activate the interpretation channel? And we'll give folks a few seconds to join. As you can see, the globe has now appeared at the bottom of the screen, so you want to click on that and then select your preferred language. So we'll give that a couple seconds. Okay, so if you are having difficulty activating interpretation, please call the phone number on the screen. Please take note of the phone number on the screen, so if you have any technical difficulties.
Madam Chair.
We're not ready?
Can you hold for a moment? Okay, let's try for a second.
Okay.
We'll do a test.
Let's do a test here. This is a test. This is only a test. All right.
So I'm not hearing anything in the Cantonese channel. I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, now, is this better? Or actually, I don't know.
So let's do another test.
Okay, so testing, are all the channels functional?
I need.
This is just a repeat to confirm the function.
I think we're good, Madam Chair.
Okay, good. Yeah, so thanks so much, everyone, for your patience. Again, if you're having difficulty activating the interpretation, please take note of the phone number, and you can call that throughout the meeting. Okay. So the project presentation has also been translated into Cantonese, Mandarin, and Spanish. It is available on the BPDA website at bostonplans.org/about-us/BPDA-board/meetings. Please take note of the website address on the screen to enable the translated project presentation. This is a public hearing before the Boston Redevelopment Authority, doing business as a Boston Planning and Development Agency, being held in conformance with sections 80B-5 and 80C-5.4 of the Boston Zoning Code to consider the planned development area for planned development area number 137, 41 Berkeley Street project development, and to consider the proposed project at 41 Berkeley Street in the South End neighborhood of Boston as a development impact project. This hearing was duly advertised on November 30th, 2022 in the Boston Herald. This is a BPDA hearing on a proposed petition by the agency. Staff members will first present their case and are subject to questioning by members of the agency. Thereafter, anyone who wishes to testify about the proposed project will be afforded an opportunity. We are taking support and opposition at the same time. If you are planning to testify, please take time now to verify that your computer microphone is active. Click the hand icon on your Zoom control panel. This will signal to the staff that you would like to speak. When your hand is raised, it will be blue. If you are calling into the meeting and would like to testify, please dial *9 to raise your hand. When I call for all testimony, staff will announce your name and allow you to talk. You must first unmute your microphone and your webcam will not be active. In an effort to accommodate all who would like to speak about this proposal, each person will be given up to 2 minutes to comment. BPDA staff will indicate when 30 seconds remain. At that time, please conclude your remarks so that the hearing may continue and others may be heard. At the conclusion of all oral testimony, any email testimony will be read aloud. Ms. Camille Platt will now begin the presentation. Camille.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the board, Director Jemison, and Secretary Paulimas. My name is Camille Platt, and I'm a project manager with the BPDA. The proposed project before you is an Article 80 large project located at 41 Berkeley Street in the South End. The proposed project will be developed on an approximately 1.26 acre parcel of land, or 53,425 square feet, also known as the Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology campus, the project site. The project site is directly bound by Appleton Street to the north, Berkeley Street to the west and south, and Tremont Street to the east. The project site does not include the land and improvements known and numbered 6 and 6A Appleton Street. The proposed project comprises 3 distinct developments on 3 parcels. The overall parcel encompasses the existing Franklin Union building component, which includes the renovation of the existing building into 35 homeownership units, the senior care component with frontage along Tremont Street, which includes the creation of an assisted living and memory care use, providing approximately 236 beds, and the Appleton component that includes the renovation of the existing building into 16 income and age-restricted rental units along Appleton Street. The Article 80 process began in July of 2020. During this process, the uses of the site evolved in response to community feedback, staff response, and the existing neighborhood context, made holistic by many South End groups. Specifically, the height and massing of buildings went through many iterations to come to its current design. Finally, I would like to thank the IAG, elected officials, and the South End community who have consistently worked within the Article 80 process over the last 2 years and helped to shape the project that you are about to see. I will now turn it over to Astrid Walker-Stewart to walk us through the planning context that was considered in reviewing this project before Alex Provost from the development team begins their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Good evening again, Chair Rojas, Secretary Paulimas, and members of the board. My name is Astrid, and I'm the South End Neighborhood Planner. The proposed project is not located within the boundaries of a recent planning initiative, so instead, planning staff considered the neighborhood context, historic preservation, adopted citywide plans, including Imagine Boston 2030, Boston Climate Action Plan, Go Boston 2030, and public feedback to review the proposed project. Next slide. The proposed project is located in the Boston Center for the Arts Franklin Institute Community Facility Subdistrict of the South End Neighborhood Zoning District and falls within the Restricted Parking Overlay District, the Coastal Flood Resilience Overlay District, and the Groundwater Conservation Overlay District. The environmental and parking constraints are addressed in the proposed project's design. Additionally, the project is located within the South End Landmark District, so BPDA staff, design review staff, will continue to work with the proponent and the South End Landmark District Commission to ensure the proposed project undergoes the appropriate preservation process. Next slide, please. So the BPDA's key objectives were to ensure the PDA had contextually appropriate guidelines for potential future developments, and the current proposed project complemented the neighborhood context. In particular, the BPDA staff ensured the proposed project's scale, size, and use worked within the neighborhood fabric and reflected its key location as a connector between Chinatown and the South End. BPDA staff also sought to support appropriate street activation through ground floor retail/restaurant use, compliance with Boston's complete street guidelines, and pedestrian use and accessibility of the courtyard passage from Berkeley Street to Tremont Street. The project site is programmed to maximize pedestrian experience, use, and accessibility. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to the development team.
Thank you very much, Camille and Astrid. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board, and to the BPDA director and staff. My name is Alex Provost from Related Field. Tonight I am pleased to be before you with my colleague at Related Field, Vice President Dr. Aisha Miller, our architect, David Asin, principal at South End-based Asin & Associates, as well as Dr. Aisha Francis, the president and CEO of the Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology. I think the site is probably well known to most of you. It's at an important intersection connecting the South End with the Times Bay and downtown of Chinatown. The 41 Berkeley project site is a triangular block that sits between Appleton, Tremont, and Berkeley Street, and it encompasses the 1.25-acre South End campus of the Franklin Cummings Institute, an institution that has housed its facilities here since 1908, when the city of Boston donated this land for the purposes of educating young trade professionals in the greater Boston area. And it is a mission that Dr. Francis and the Franklin Cummings team continue to drive today, serving as an affordable nonprofit college committed to career readiness for City of Boston students geared towards placement in technology jobs of the future. The project before you tonight has been slowly refined, really since the outset in 2019. That is through direct dialogue with our city agencies, local stakeholders, and over 50 neighbor and public meetings. I'm excited and proud to be here because of the way our team has worked to strike a number of balances for this project, including a program that is inclusive and reflects the needs of the neighborhood and the city of Boston, made up of licensed assisted living, memory, and senior care services operated by our partners Atria, which itself creates 120 jobs in the facility. It also includes public, open, and green space, senior affordable housing, and a nonprofit cultural community center. The current design and development plan incorporate elements that are a direct result of our conversations with members of our IAG and community during the public process, and they represent both additions and concessions relative to density, height, design, affordable housing, open space, historic preservation, and mitigation that have ultimately resulted in this better project, I will say. The redevelopment of the Franklin Cummings Institute South End campus will introduce an inspired, diverse mix of uses, anchored by public realm improvements, historic preservation, and placemaking, which we believe is in line with the city and the community's vision for this neighborhood. This process will give us an opportunity, give us the ability to enhance the legacy of what this campus has represented for the last 112 years. And Related Beal is excited for the future of BPIT's new campus in Nubian Square, where the institution will be primed for the next century of education and be the community anchor and economic driver that Boston needs. For more on that, I'd like to pass this off to President and CEO of the Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology, Dr. Aisha Francis.
Thank you so much, Alex. Next slide, please. I'm here to just share a bit more about what happens at the college and how we got to the place of designating Related Beal as our developer of choice on this particular project. Really looking at the fact that there were 10 years of research and investigation on behalf of the college and the board of directors, thinking about how to best steward our location, our historic location, and where we needed to go. The deferred maintenance on the building, the scale and scope of the project that is before you was too much for our college to consider, and therefore, after a decade of rumination and planning, we chose Related as the best developer for the things that we needed to do, and this is going to allow us to move 1.3 miles away, closer to our students and closer to the neighborhood that many of our alumni are also from. And I think what's also important to share is, as a technical college that's also a nonprofit, what we are about is really training folks to take on the new innovation economy jobs that are so important for the city and the greater Boston region. And here you have several of the types of roles that we are preparing folks for now, for the clean energy transition, electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles, HVAC, heat pump installation. We train solar technicians, substation engineers, and smart building manufacturing, as well as smart building controls. So with that, I would like to turn things over to David Hassin to get into the meat of the project. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Francis. It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you, members of the board, Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, Director Jemison, staff, and of course to the public who's watching. Next slide, please. Just to orient you very quickly, as Alex said, you all probably know the site very well, but this is an aerial of the triangular parcel that we are discussing, with anchored by the Franklin Union Building at the center of the slide. In addition to that, there are a number of smaller historic buildings at 4 and 6 Appleton Street, and a auto repair addition that was built around the entire complex in the 1980s, as well as some of the parts of the campus. The cyclorama, the atelier, the Castle Square, and the Ellis neighborhood surround the site. Next slide, please. These are some images that show you around the site, while the corner of Appleton and Berkeley is anchored by the very grand Franklin Union Building. The other sites are largely open-ended with party walls and other conditions that you see here. Next slide, please. This is our proposed site plan, which is defined by 3 principal buildings. The Franklin Union Building, which would be an adaptive reuse of the Union Building, 54,000 square feet, into home ownership units. The Senior Care Building, which wraps from Berkeley Street around and down Tremont Street, which is almost 200,000 square feet of assisted living and memory care, including street-level retail. And mixed-use Appleton Building on the corner of Appleton and Tremont, almost 18,000 square feet, with a community center and 16 age and income restricted units above it. I'll talk about the site plan in a moment. Next slide, please. We've worked really hard to take this site, which has largely been gated off from public access for decades, to really integrate it into the fabric of the neighborhood and create multiple ways of experiencing the site, moving around and through the site, which you can see in this diagram, through pedestrian paths, bike paths, and creating as many retail and building entrances all around the perimeter as possible, as well as the addition of really useful and usable green spaces that occupy almost a fourth of the site. Next slide, please. I'm going to quickly take you around the site to show you some views of the new project. As was mentioned, this is well within the South End Landmark District Commission purview, and we have worked hard to think about the character, materiality, and scale of the neighborhood at every angle of the project. This is the view of the project from the Tremont corner with the Atelier project on the left-hand side, looking down Tremont Street towards downtown. Next slide, please. A view from Warren Avenue, looking down from the neighborhood at that same important intersection. You can begin to see some of the public spaces that are surrounding the site, some of the active retail that will move around Berkeley Street and down Tremont. Next slide, please. The entrance to one of our pedestrian arcade in between the renovated Franklin Union building and our senior care facility that you see here, the extensive landscaping both at the ground and on upper levels. Next slide, please. We worked really hard to, over many years now, to bring the scale of the project into the line with the character of the neighborhood. This shows prominently the Union building on the corner of Berkeley and Appleton, which will be fully renovated, and at great cost. This building has a lot of needs to bring it back to its glory, but hopefully you can see the careful syncopation of the massing down the street. Next slide, please. This is a view of Appleton Street, showing again from right to left the renovated Union building, the renovation of the facades at 4 and 6 Appleton Street, another aspect of preservation on the site, a new community room at the major intersection, above which are the 16 units of affordable housing. So here, really this careful syncopation of facades down Appleton Street in character with the neighborhood. Next slide, please. We're very excited about this grand portal that takes you into the green spaces and the courtyard that really invite the public through the site from downtown, moving back towards the neighborhood. Tremont Street is on your left. There would be active retail on one side and the community room and its functions on the other. Next slide, please. The courtyard itself, which is really which through much of our work has been made very, very green, and it allows for impromptu events, music, etc. I'll move faster. Next slide, please. This is a diagram of the green space describing the arcade, the public spaces that are marked on the two corners, and the series of green spaces that march through the site. Next slide, please. We were very careful to think about accommodating existing uses like the holiday fair and Jerk Fest and other events that have traditionally taken place here, and have considered that in the design of the public spaces, the location of the community room, etc. Next slide, please. We are also very mindful of accessibility, and this site has to be raised due to sea rise concerns, and we're happy to answer questions about this if you have them, but this has been shown in this diagram. Next slide, please. And of course, we're meeting all the goals of sustainability and resiliency at a very high level. This is a LEED Gold project, all electric, and there are many, many strategies that we are deploying on all of the buildings and throughout the site to make this a showcase project of sustainability and resiliency. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Aisha Miller to tell you about the public benefits. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Good evening, Madam Chair, to the board, and Chief Jemison and your staff. We have good public benefits. I'm going to speak very candidly. New green space. 24% of our project site is open space. 9% of our project site is open covered. New parklet, green lawn space, and new buffered and parking protected cycle tracks. Our preservation and restoration, 4 historic buildings on site. Franklin Union Building, 55,000 square feet of restoration and preservation, auditorium adaptive reuse, BFIT preservation and relocation, empowering the new Nubian Square campus, built for community, our seniors allowed to age in place, new home ownership opportunities, including on-site affordable housing, purpose-built community center, 3,500 square feet community center with accessible restrooms, kitchen prep space, and public RFI process. Public realm activation, housing and jobs linkage, 1 million for senior care, jobs creation, 500 construction jobs, 200 permanent jobs, sustainability and resiliency, and property tax revenue. Thank you.
Okay, great. Does this conclude the presentation? So, yes.
It does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So this is a public testimony, a public hearing. So we'll hear public testimony first. Secretary Polhemus, do we have anyone that would like to testify?
Yes, we do. Tom McIntyre, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Good evening. My name's Tom McIntyre. I'm a resident of Boston and a member of Local 3 of the Bricklayers Union, headquartered right here in Charlestown. First, the local union would like to record our support for the project. Having trained thousands of men and women in the greater Boston region from our apprentice program in Dorchester, we have a common mission to that of BFIT. And today's approval will allow BFIT to prosper as an institution and to continue to, as they would say, provide a hands-on education for a leg up on life. BFIT's partner, Related Beal, is a job creator for membership of Local 3, project president, membership, just on the projects that are done here in the city of Boston. Our support does come with it a request to the board regarding a design decision by Related Beal on its planned 10-story elder care facility at the 41 Berkeley Street development. Briefly, the current plan calls for an exterior facade, a 10-story building to be a thin brick, prefabricated, panelized system. These panels are manufactured far from Boston using low-wage plant workers with little career training. Now, conversely, we're Related Beal to pledge to the BPDA board, as it has done on a recent BPDA-approved project on A Street in Fort Point, to build the exterior of the building with laid-in-place masonry, done on-site with Bostonians, bricklayers, their apprentices, and individuals represented by the Boston Residency Jobs Policy. They would be making the jobs-based economic impact one expects from the development of this. To be clear, Related Beal's decision to use prefabricated panels is not an intentional avoidance of the Boston Residents Jobs Policy. I want to make that very clear. In fact, I'm sure that they support fully the spirit and intention of the policy, and certainly the commitment to Boston has benefited that. It's simply that the fact that the building is an entire, building an entire 10-story building in a plant outside of Boston is counter to the objective of this Boston Planning and Development Agency. So we ask this as advocates, not adversaries, and one last chance to try to get this thing committed and sand laid. But short of that, let's continue to work together, and we wanted to put on the record this important issue. So thank you so much for your time and participation.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Emily Day, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. And I want to express my appreciation to the board and to Chair Rojas for having me here today.
My name is Emily Foster Day, and I am the co-executive director of Boston Center for the Arts, neighbor to the Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology. Since 1970 and 1908, respectively, Boston Center for the Arts and Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology have been two anchor institutions in the South End. Like most aspects of our city, the organizations have not remained static. BCA has expanded its campus with the addition of the Calderwood Pavilion in 2004 and its residencies, exhibitions, and performance programs, providing critical professional infrastructure for hundreds of Boston area visual and performing artists each year, and meaningful connections between these artists and the community that we inhabit. BFIT has advanced its programs for an increasingly technology-driven economy with a growing focus on careers in green and clean technologies. Today, that evolution is taking BFIT to Roxbury, and a new institution is proposed for its current home. BFIT needs, and its overwhelmingly Black and brown students deserve, a 21st century space. A lot of good comes from spreading the wealth. There's an opportunity to transfer the positive effects BFIT has in the South End to Roxbury, the epicenter of Boston, a visible beacon for educational opportunities that haven't always been accessible to the young people of Nubian Square's neighboring communities. BFIT can inspire students to consider a broader array of education and career opportunities. Graduates frequently establish careers in industries offering salaries that outpace the typical median family income, creating new wealth. And with a steady flow of foot traffic from students, faculty, and staff, local businesses will have the new client base. BCA deeply understands how important the approval of this project is for BFIT and its students. BCA's ability to stay in its historic South End campus and continue to support Boston's cultural community was directly tied to the approval of the Atelier 505 project in the late 1990s. As leaders of the Boston Center for the Arts, we urge the City of Boston and the BPDA board to help secure a bright future for BFIT in Nubian Square and a new use for its Berkeley Street site. Thoughtful development like this is how our city can grow and change to meet the evolving needs of its residents, business, and cultural institutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren Cook, you can unmute yourself.
Thanks so much. Thanks for listening to me this evening. My name is Lauren Cook, and I'm the CEO of Ellis Early Learning. We are a neighbor to BFIT, and we have been for over 100 years. We are on with you all tonight to express our deepest support for this project and for our treasured neighbor, BFIT, because we are so excited for their future and echo many of the sentiments that Emily just did. The only thing I would add as an early childhood provider in the city of Boston is that we are very excited about the intergenerational programming opportunities that will come to our neighborhood. There is something magical when you put older citizens with very young children, and we are looking forward to facilitating relationships between the generations right in the South End. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mina Perez, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Madam Chair, members of the board, this is Mina Perez representing hundreds of union carpenters that live and work throughout the city of Boston. First, want to take a second to thank the office of Mayor Michelle Wolf for allowing the community to be part of the process. I also want to extend gratitude to the developer related bill for doing a great job in the community outreach. And of course, thanks to Dr. Francis from Ben Franklin. She understands how important these two locations are, and the Carpenters Union is extremely grateful for all the work opportunities that are rising. We are delighted and we are looking forward, and I know they are advocating for the Boston plan to be implemented, to see our Boston residents, our women and minorities go to work in these two projects. We are absolutely enthusiastically in full support of this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Minor. Does anyone else like to testify on this project? Please raise your virtual hand. Madam Secretary, this concludes this portion of the item.
Yeah. Cool. So do we have any written testimony that needs to be read aloud?
Yes, Madam Chair, we do. I have 5 letters here. So first comes from City Council President Ed Flynn. Dear members of the BPDA board, I am writing in support of the proposed development of 41 Berkeley Street in the South End. The proposed project was the site of the former campus of the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology and will be a mixed-use development that includes uses for senior care, residential condominiums, retail space, and nonprofit affordable community space. It will also feature significant public realm improvements, new parks, and open space. The project has three main components: the Franklin Union Building with 35 homeownership units and ground retail, the Appleton Building with 16 age, 55 and over, and income-restricted units, along with a community center and a senior care facility with 193 units and ground retail. There will be EV charging stations on site with other sustainability and resiliency measures that target energy efficiency and flooding prevention. There will also be 120 permanent jobs created on site for care staff, drivers, and others. Moreover, this project will expand new green spaces in the area, with 24% of the project dedicated to open space and a new park plan to help connect neighborhoods and services. Moreover, the value from this project will also allow BFIT to offer critical educational opportunities to our residents, such as training programs on clean technology and green jobs of the future at their Nubian Square campus. I understand that there are concerns about building materials being prefabricated off-site instead of on-site. The project presents an opportunity to meet the requirements of the Boston Jobs Policy and contribute to our local economy. To that end, I respectfully request that the proponent continue further discussion about masonry components being completed on-site rather than off-site prefabrication. I also understand some neighbors and residents still have concerns about the project and affordability of the memory care facility. I respectfully ask that the proponent continue working with the residents and civic groups in good faith to discuss and resolve these concerns. Thank you for your consideration, and I believe that this project will be a valuable addition to our community. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me at 617-635-3203 or at ed.flynn@boston.gov. The next letter is from State Representative Liz Miranda. Dear Chief Jemison, I am writing to express my support for Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology and to advocate for this project to, at last, be brought to a vote by the Board of the Boston Planning and Development Authority at this body's December meeting. After 3 years of community process, conversation, and development planning, the project at 41 Berkeley Street is ready for a vote. The development team has met all necessary criteria, and the college has been a participant in the process as appropriate. I am aware of the fact that the school needs the funding yielded from the long-planned sale of its South End asset to serve as a large source of the proceeds needed to fund the proposed construction of the college's new campus in Nubian Square. Among the reasons I support this project are the following. Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology has been a major engine of workforce training in Boston for more than a century. The college is dedicated to successfully educating individuals in the greater Boston area who face barriers to employment. BFCIT makes a vital difference in these individuals' lives by training workers for entry and mid-level technology careers for which talent is in short supply. BFCIT's proposed building in Nubian Square will give the college a new state-of-the-art, high-tech facility and allow it to grow and serve more students. The construction will clean up a vacant and blighted site and activate the important corner of Harrison Ave and Eustis Street. It will complement and increase the visibility of two adjacent historic resources, the Elliott Burying Ground and Historic Boston Incorporated's renovated Torrent 6 fire station. Over the past several years, BFCIT has met with both South End and Roxbury residents and organizations to describe their plans and gather community input. There has been strong support for the college and for having this important educational resource relocated from its South End neighborhood since 1908 to the Nubian Square neighborhood, where it will add economic value to Nubian Square with students and staff supporting local services, shops, and restaurants. Boston's BPDA Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Landmarks Commission, and Parks Commission have all voted to approve the project at 1011 Harrison Avenue, which cannot proceed until the building at 41 Berkeley Street is permitted. The permitting process has been underway since the fall of 2019. I believe that the college has been a patient participant in a thorough and protracted development process that has included 8 impact advisory group meetings and dozens of other convenings and information sessions. The project at 41 Berkeley Street is ready and deserves a BPDA vote at the December meeting. Thank you for your consideration. The next letter is from Senator Sonia Chang Diaz. Dear Chief Jemison, I am writing to express my support for Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology and to advocate for this project to be brought to a vote by the Board of the Boston Planning and Development Authority at this body's December meeting. After 3 years of community process, conversation, and development planning, the project at 41 Berkeley Street is ready for a vote. The school needs the funding yielded from the long-planned sale of its South End asset to serve as the large source of the proceeds needed to fund the proposed construction of the college's new campus in Nubian Square. Among the reasons I am supporting this project are Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology has been a major engine of workforce training in Boston for more than a century. The college is dedicated to educating individuals in the greater Boston area who face barriers to employment. BFCIT makes a vital difference in these individuals' lives by training workers for entry and mid-level technology careers for which talent is in short supply. BFCIT's proposed building in Nubian Square will give the college a new state-of-the-art, high-tech facility and allow it to grow and serve more students. The construction will clean up a vacant and blighted site and activate the important corner of Harrison Avenue and Eustis Street. It will complement and increase the visibility of two adjacent historic resources, the Elliott Burying Ground and the historic Boston's renovated Torrance 6 Fire Station. Over the past several years, BFCIT has met with both South End and Roxbury residents and organizations to describe their plans and gather community input. There has been strong support for the college and for having this important educational resource relocated from its South End neighborhood since 1908 to the Nubian Square neighborhood, where it will add economic value to Nubian Square with students and staff supporting local services, shops, and restaurants. Boston's BPDA Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Landmarks Commission, and Parks Commission have all voted to approve the project at 1011 Harrison Ave. The college has been a patient participant in a thorough and protracted development process that has included 8 impact advisory group meetings and dozens of other convenings and information sessions. The project at 41 Berkeley Street is ready for and deserves a BPDA vote at the December meeting. The next letter I have is from District 7 City Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Dear Chief Jemison, I am writing to express my support for the Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology and to advocate for this project to be voted on by the BPDA's board at the body's December meeting. After 3 years of a thorough community process, the project at 41 Berkeley deserves a vote. The development team has met all criteria and the college has been integral to this process. As the D7 City Councilor, I welcome BFIT into Nubian Square. To proceed with plans to complete this project, the college needs the sale of its building to be consummated, as said sale will fund construction of the new campus. There are a number of reasons I support this project. Among them are, Benjamin Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology has been an engine of workforce training in Boston for over a century. The college is dedicated to educating individuals in the Boston area who face barriers to employment. BFIT makes a difference in these individuals' lives by training workers for entry and mid-level technology careers. Already, BFIT's proposed building in Nubian Square will give the college a new state-of-the-art facility and allow it to grow and serve more students. Already, the pre-construction development of the college improved a property that, until March of 2022, was dilapidated and vacant for almost 20 years. The development will revitalize an important corner of Harrison Ave and Eustis Street. It will complement and increase the visibility of two adjacent historic resources, the Elliott Burying Ground and Historic Boston Incorporated's renovated Torrance 6 Fire Station. Over the past several years, BFIT has met with area residents and organizations to gather community input. There is strong support for the college's relocation plan from the South End to Nubian Square, where it will add economic value to Nubian Square with students and staff supporting local services, shops, and restaurants. Boston's BPDA Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, Landmarks Commission, and Parks Commission have all approved the project at 1011 Harrison Avenue, which cannot proceed until the building at 41 Berkeley Street is permitted. The college has been a patient participant in a development process that has included 8 impact advisory group meetings and dozens of other information sessions. The project at 41 Berkeley Street is ready for a BPDA vote at the December meeting. With these factors in mind, I reiterate my support for this project and look forward to the positive impacts it will have in the community. Please feel free to contact me with any questions you may have. The final letter I have is from Tian Donahue. This is a project that addresses a need in the South End, and the developers have been working hard to address multiple stakeholders with multiple perspectives and needs. As Dana Whiteside said at one meeting, a project cannot be everything to everyone. I have lived in the South End since 1982. Appleton Street, Dwight Street, Washington Street. I think the proposed project works, and I think the developers are working hard and effectively to balance as many community needs as they can. I like the project, I like what it offers us, and I think it's a valuable addition to a rapidly changed neighborhood. As a small side note, Atria's $8,000 a month assisted living is, sadly for the country, not really out of line with costs in other comparable cities and places, as I learned when we looked for my mom a few years ago. The cost is a systemic issue that needs federal or state investment. But the thing I would really like to underscore is what this community and the city owe the Ben Franklin Institute and how seriously that should be taken. They have given so much for so long to young people and valuable investment. Someone said at one meeting that we, the South End residents, shouldn't have to shoulder the burden of BFIT's needs. I couldn't disagree more. Of course we should. It's easy to talk about supporting the kind of work the Institute does, the kind of essential good they offer us all, the investment in minority students and their futures we all say we support. This is a case where we must put our money where our mouths are. Their needs should be absolutely a priority. Related Beal needs to ensure its project is feasible to move forward. The sale needs to move forward to ensure BFIT can move forward. From Duggan Hill, steady support such as what Related Beal has proposed for our local free pre-professional performing arts program is what enables us to reach for more support citywide. Their investment in our kids' futures is irreplaceable. It encourages other organizations to step up as well. Our students, inner city youth feel believed in and supported like they matter. And the model Related Beal has proposed is unique because it shows long-term investment in the South End over time rather than short-term. I see this model in most of the community benefits they are proposing and think it is part of their unique approach. And that concludes the letters that I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have some questions and comments. So one, if this is approved tonight, so it's moving forward with that veneer, that stuff looks ridiculous. Or is it going to still continue through BRA design review? That's a question, I guess, for the board.
That's a staff question.
Yeah.
Is
BRA design review continue, or does it, if it's approved tonight, we end up with this brick veneer that looks ridiculous? That's why I always ask that question, especially in an area that's, it's got a real brick building right there. I mean, you'd be able to stick out like a sore thumb. And then an institution that trains people for careers, I don't know why you'd go to Canada to have a prefab product and, you know, that glues on the side of the building. And why wouldn't you be using people that live here and work here, who learn their trade? Maybe not at Ben Franklin, I don't think you teach that, but they've learned it at other institutions in the area. That's not really a question, that's a comment, but you hit with this right now to make a decision. And I mean, maybe someone from Ben Franklin will answer the question, or the development team?
This is Kenan from planning. Sorry, I'll let the developer respond after me, but I'm the interim director of planning. I want to see if the board has a strong preference for continuing the design review process. We're happy to continue doing that at a staff level, at the level of detail that you're specifying. But I'll turn it back over to Alex to respond.
I'd like to see that as well. I mean, Benjamin Franklin Institute has such a long history of training generations of tradespeople, and these would be good jobs. And to Mike's point, I think when you've got buildings right next door, beautiful real brick, I think it would not look nearly as good as it could. So I'd like to see further, or I'd like to find out more what the next steps are, if that could be really reviewed.
I'll jump in quick. This is Mike Sinatra, Senior Project Manager with the BPDA. I've been helping Camille out on this project. So there is still more review. This project, after it receives approval from both the board and zoning commission, will have to go to landmarks as well. And then when they come back in at the end, as they try to close out the project to get their permits, they'll have to go through a final design review again in a few months when they're ready for that as well. So there is still more review to come.
Thanks, Mike. I would hope that they don't get it with that veneer stuff. I mean, that stuff looks ridiculous.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ryan. I can address that. I think, given that the Franklin Cummings Institute will stay in the South End in their campus while their Nubian Square campus is built, 41 Berkeley is really in its infancy stages in terms of design. So we will continue to have detailed reviews with the South End Landmarks Districts Commission before construction commences. And I think that, Related Beal has always had a consistent approach proposing projects in Boston, and that is to engage with our building trade leadership early on, which this project is no different. We've invited the leader of the Bricklayers Union, local Bricklayers Union, here to discuss who we've worked with before, and for him to kind of better understand where we are with design, and the fact that at this point we've committed already approximately 50% of the total project to be hand-laid brick. So I think contrary to that comment about a decision being made on the system of some of the upper floors, no decision has been made, nor can any decision be made at this point on that scope. So we've made that clear to the leader of the Bricklayers, and we've invited him to remain in this collaborative conversation with us as we work out design and relative timetable here to achieve a successful result for us. So we're committed to keeping that door open as well.
Thank you. And Ted, you're typically the one that makes a motion. I ask that you yield. Beal is an excellent development. Don't take it the wrong way, but I'm looking at it more from a design piece and then a worker piece. But I am going to make a motion to support the project with a proviso.
And I hear that, and it's true that I'm usually the one. I'm happy to yield to you on that. But I do want to add a comment in support of what you and Brian have said. I mean, the irony is that when Ben Franklin left his bequests to Philly and to Boston to create these institutes a couple of centuries ago, officially it was to educate what he then called artificers, that is, artisans who worked with their hands to build and design structures that would last a long time. And the bequest that he made to Philadelphia ultimately failed. But the one in Boston, which was managed for a long time by the city of Boston, before Ben Franklin's institute went independent. It was designed to encourage the development of people with craft and artisan skills. And I do think it would be ironic, given that initial bequest and the great work that the Institute has done over all these years, to not continue the discussion. So I would also hope that the conversations would continue. And then I would just add, it's hard to imagine a project in Boston that has as much of an impact, positive impact, on the South End and on Nubian Square and kids into the future and preparation for green jobs. It's hard to think of an institution that has been able to combine public and private sector resources in the way that the Ben Franklin Cummings Institute is now doing with this project. And it really speaks to what it is we want to believe in about the future of the city, who's here, and who gets to do the work here. So you have a motion on the table, and I'm happy to second that.
Madam Chair, I don't know if you're done.
Yes, so motion, so.
I'll make a motion to grant approval with proviso, with further design reviews, focusing on the building, of course, but special attention to brick and leaning towards in-place hand-laid brick that looks like the building next door.
Second.
Okay, roll call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Mr. Landsmark?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Thank you very much. I think we've started the great conversation. It'll keep going. And like, congratulations to BFIT, related Beal. I'm so like, I mean, obviously I'm on a board too, right? But like, I know that these decisions are like so hard to make, right? And that they were like 10 years in the making, and then you have to, it's just, I'm really happy for all of us, right? For the city of Boston and what I think this is going to create in multiple neighborhoods. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Great new year. Let's see here. So that was our last public hearing. So we're now gonna move to back to item number 29. Request authorization to issue a certification of approval in accordance with Article 80E, Small Project Review of the Zoning Code, for the construction of 40 residential home ownership units, including 7 IDP units, 2,735 square feet of ground floor commercial space, 19 parking spaces, and 60 bicycle storage room, located at 1 Tabor Street. And to take all related actions, we have Tyler and Yadi Samad.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The proposal before you is an Article 80 small project at 1 Tabor Street, Roxbury. The proposed project consists of a new 6-story mixed-use building with 3 commercial spaces on the ground floor. The 6-story building will contain 40 home ownership units. The project will deliver 18% of the proposed residential units at between 80 and 100% AMI, as well as provide 19 parking spaces and 60 bike spaces for residents. Furthermore, the BPDA held a public meeting for this project in November of 2022. It was well attended and advertised in the local newspaper. Now, I will turn it over to Yari Cortez from BPDA Planning to discuss the planning context before Patrick and Alpita from the development team begin the presentation. Lastly, I want to say thank you to the members of the public, elected officials, and city agencies who've helped review the proposed 1 Tabor Street project. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Good evening again, Chair Rojas, Director Jemison, Secretary Polhimes, and members of the board. My name is Yari Cortez, and I also cover Roxbury as a neighborhood planner. The proposed project is located within the planning boundaries of Plan Nubian Square, a planning process established in 2016. Plan Nubian Square is a product of the visions created in the Roxbury Strategic Master Plan, the strategic framework to guide change and economic growth in Roxbury. The Plan Nubian Square initiative involved a robust community engagement process that established several clear development objectives consistent with the area's planning history. These objectives include creation of jobs, development of diverse and affordable housing options, resilient and sustainable design, and a commitment to diversity and inclusion. The proposed project makes significant contributions towards the realization of the Plan Nubian's goals by addressing key issues such as providing all homeownership residential opportunities, promoting ground floor activation of Nubian Square through the creation of commercial spaces on Warren Street, coupled with improved sidewalk conditions by the addition of street trees and improved pedestrian-friendly landscape design. These are consistent with the plan recommendations goals for a wider range of housing options, vibrant ground floor use, and transportation and pedestrian scale improvements. I will now turn the presentation over to the proponent team to present the project in more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cortez. Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Patrick Mahoney. I'm a zoning attorney representing the development team. Klaus Kimmel is the developer. And as our project manager explained, we're proposing a 40-unit condo building, 6 stories in Nubian Square area. We are seeking some zoning relief. Some things I'd like to talk about very briefly before Alpita takes us through the program is going through the process. There was a increased affordable housing component in addition to the 13% additional 2 units. as well as $200,000 in mitigation for District 7, which is a nonprofit, which was recommended by City Councilor, as well as $75,000 in BPDA improvements. The proposed condo development will bring homeownership to the area, as well as the other two buildings by this development team right in the neighboring area. We are seeking some variances, and we do have a board date tentatively for the beginning of March. So with that, I'll turn it over to Elpida, and I'd be happy to answer any questions at the end of her presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Elpida Bexteropoulou. I'm part of the architecture team. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our project to you, Madam Chair, Madam Secretary, and members of the board. I apologize you have to bear through it with me with my under the weather voice, but I'll try to be brief and quick. So our proposed project is located at the corner of Tabor Street and Warren Street, right in front of the bowling building. It is a primary location creating a new neighborhood street component along Tabor Street and an introduction to the newly developed commercial street along Warren Street. So the floor plan that we see in front of us, this slide, is the development of the first floor level, where we see a residential entrance along Tabor Street, as well as the garage entrance that leads to the underground garage, parking spaces for 19 cars. And we have our retail spaces developing along Warren Street. So the first floor level, provides the utilities for the building, a designated bike storage area, a lounge space to accommodate the tenants of the building. And with that, we can go to the next slide. This is our typical residential layout. We have 8 units per floor, 3 two-bedroom units and 4 one-bedroom units. There's a diversity in sizes for the residential units that vary for the one bedrooms between 735 square feet to 796, and 2 bedrooms from 1,039 to 1,179. You can go to this next slide, please. Special care has been taken with communication with the neighborhood in providing an open space at the roof level with a green roof and a roof deck. We see the next slide, please. There's some good images there. So a big component in this building is the green element design that we have taken special consideration. There will be solar panels included in the design, energy efficiency strategies, including, triple glazing fenestration, heat and cooling systems, all to provide a better energy efficient building. Next slide, please. So with the next few slides, we will see the development of the exterior facades of the building. Special architectural features that we have reviewed closely with the BPDA design team is the existing and surrounding buildings right adjacent to us at 10 Tabor Street building, the recently completed building, and the bowling building as well. So we have a 6-story building with the first 2 stories having a masonry facade treatment in dialogue with the surrounding buildings. And then in this elevation particularly, we see the residential entrance along Tabor Street. You can go to the next slide, please. Warren Street is the facade where we develop mostly the retail component on the first floor level. And we are trying to achieve a 2-story masonry treatment to accentuate the architectural language in relationship to the bowling building. Next slide, please. This is our side elevation showing at the left side of the first floor a potential open cafe or restaurant space that will be developing there. Next slide, please. Our rear facade showing the access to the utilities of the building and trash room. Next slide, please. This is a street elevation that was intended to study the volume and massing of the building in dialogue with the existing context. So to our left, of the proposed 1 Tabor Street building, we see the newly completed 10 Tabor Street building. Next slide, please. Rendering images to accentuate the special care we took to activate the commercial facade on the street level along Warren Street. So the view to the left is looking from Nubian Square towards our building, and the view to the right is from the end of Warren Street looking towards our building. Next slide, please. This is the main view that we try to accentuate the dialogue that is attempted here in creating this new neighborhood with a pedestrian-friendly access along Tabor Street. As we are, seeing the Ferdinand building right in front of us, we have the proposed building to the left, 1 Tabor Street, and the completed building, 10 Tabor Street, to our right. So we are creating this new neighborhood in many ways, and the main cornerstone of architectural elements and references was based with the buildings that we see in that image right there. And I think that's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your presentation. Awesome. So do we have any questions or comments from the board? Yeah, okay. Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Lansmore?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion passes. Great project, congratulations. I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so item number 34, request authorization to amend the current agreement with Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated for the City of Boston's GIS software support and training services, and for payment in an amount not to exceed $67,500. Ala.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Secretary Polimus, and Director Jemison. My name is Ala Ziskin, and I'm the Deputy Director of GIS in the IT department. I'm here today to request approval of the amendments to the current 3-year enterprise agreement with ESRI for continuation of GIS support software, training, and consulting services. The enterprise agreement was first established in 2007 and now includes all major city departments as well as the BPDA, with the Department of Innovation and Technology serving as a contract holder. The current 3-year agreement is up for renewal this year. This amendment is necessary to extend the contract end date until June of 2023 to facilitate the city's ongoing contract renewal negotiations. A little bit about the EA. The rapid growth in geographic information systems driven by the departmental needs is best met through an enterprise agreement. The agreement allows to substantially reduce administrative and software acquisition costs, streamline decision support and data sharing, and provide residents with accessible visual information. Additionally, included in the agreement is an annual subscription to the Enterprise Advantage program. This program provides training, support, and consultation services to ensure the most effective deployment of GIS across the city and the BPDA. The BPDA team recommends authorizing the BPDA buy-in contribution to the City of Boston's 9-month enterprise agreement amendment. This concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Lansmore?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Thank you. Good luck with the contract negotiations.
Thank you very much.
Efficiently and using it across the citywide. Seems boring, but this is really good stuff. I appreciate all the work you guys do.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
I love IT. Okay, here we go. Item number 35, contractual. I need a motion to pay the bills.
I move that we pay our bills.
Second.
Call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Dr. Lansmark?
Aye.
Mr. Leather?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye, motion passes. Please pay the bills. And personnel, Secretary Polhemus.
Hold on, sorry about that. We have a couple of items for your consideration on the BRA agenda with exact details in the board memos. We have one status change in the Community Engagement Department, Mark McGonigal from Community Engagement Manager to Deputy Director of Community Engagement. And we have one out-of-state travel request with the details in your package. Thank you.
So much. Questions or comments from the board? Hearing and seeing none, a motion is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Pittsburgh?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. And finally, the director's update. Director Jemison, the floor is yours.
Good evening, and thanks so much for giving me a chance to share a few comments. This is the last board meeting of the year, so thanks for all your hard work all year. We appreciate you board members and members of the staff, all the hard work you do during the year. Hopefully you will have a chance to get some rest and relaxation with family and friends during the next few weeks. I'm going to cover just a few things, highlighting a few projects today, talking about a little bit of year-end data. We have a raw version of that data, which will be updated for presentation next month, and then highlighting a few projects, saying thank you and goodbye to a few long-tenured staff, and then wishing everybody their best for the holidays. Tonight, you approved 7 new development projects representing 485 residential units. 223 of those units were income restricted. Total developer's cost estimate is a little over $500 million, and these projects represent just under 900,000 square feet of development, putting 900 tradespeople to work and creating over 770 direct jobs. So thank you for those votes tonight. Since it's the end of the year, I do want to give you a rough sense of what we did this year. The board and staff managed through the process with our development community and citizens 67 new development projects, which when completed will create over 3,300 residential units, over 1,000 of which are income restricted. You approved 9.8 million square feet of new development, representing $6.5 billion worth of cost. We expect these projects to create over 9,000 construction jobs, already in progress, many of them, as well as over 13,800 direct jobs. So a few highlights from today's agenda to indicate some of the good work that's been done. Parcel R1 in Chinatown is an important moment to thank both the teams on the disposition side and the development review team for their work on this property, which won approval tonight. The project will convert what is now a BPDA parking lot into affordable housing and a new Chinatown branch of the Boston Public Library for bookworms like me. It's very exciting. It's a huge win for the community and fully encompasses the meaning of public land for public good. The substantial benefits here also achieve several planning goals outlined in Plan Downtown, which we've just relaunched, by providing public realm improvements and affordable housing opportunities in the neighborhood. A job well done to all involved. Tonight, it's a little bittersweet for me, and I know for many BPDA staff. I know we are saying goodbye after 22 years of faithful service to Eileen Brophy, who's leaving the agency for a new opportunity in the private sector. I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with her in to meet her a couple of times in my private work, but most importantly to me, at least for the last 7 months, to have her as our partner, our interim general counsel. She's been outstanding, providing a huge amount of leadership throughout the last year, which contained a lot of change. She's always been known to be a pragmatic and very efficient leader. She's taken on a heavy caseload through her time at BPDA and delivered at every turn. Project managers and staff were delighted to have Eileen as their attorney on projects that they knew the work would get done on time, no matter how many other obligations she had. Eileen's been a great mentor to lawyers and other staff in the legal department over her time here in the department. We're really going to miss her. She's been an integral part of our executive leadership team for more than 8 years. She's well respected by me, the colleagues both inside and outside the agency, and she's viewed as someone who always provides sound legal advice and guidance. Her institutional knowledge and ability to translate complex legal strategy into actionable tasks has been valuable to the agency. As a Bostonian and fellow Dorchester resident, I look forward to seeing Eileen contribute to our community in new ways in the future. I wish her continued success personally and professionally in her future endeavors. I want to thank you on behalf of the entire agency and all those she served for the last 2+ decades. Thank you very much, Eileen. We're really going to miss you.
Thank you very, very much for those kind words. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed every minute of working here. And, thank you to the board for letting me serve. And I appreciate it. I will miss everyone.
All right. Well, again, Eileen, we will miss you, and very best of luck at your new position. Unfortunately, the work of this board is essential to the city. Fortunately and unfortunately, we have to say to ourselves, how will we move on and continue the critical work that the agency has to do? I'm pleased to let you know at the board level that someone who's also been here a while has agreed to be the interim general counsel. Lisa Harrington has been at the BPDA since 2018, working primarily on a real estate portfolio. Before joining the agency, she was a lawyer at Choate Hall and Stewart, including serving as partner in finance and restructuring. She's also served as a deputy counsel at the Community Builders, a local affordable housing developer. Notably, she's also been here at the same time that Eileen's been to a great degree, and so we have the benefit of their relationship as well. And the work they've already been doing to help us make sure the transition goes smoothly. I'm also pleased to announce that Mallory Toomey will be assuming the role of interim deputy general counsel. She's been here since 2016 and most recently served as senior land use counsel. I'm really grateful to Lisa and Mallory for stepping into the interim general counsel and interim deputy general counsel roles at this crucial moment and helping us get over the fact that we will not have Eileen. I'm very confident they'll ensure a smooth transition over the weeks and months ahead. And with that, that's the end of this year's director's comments. It's been my distinct pleasure to serve you the last 7 months, and I'm excited about 2023.
Thank you, Director Jemison. Equally as excited, and on behalf of the board, thank you, Eileen, so much for your service. It really, we have nothing but complex legal problems or issues, right? Like everything we do is really complex, and I will just echo that I've been appreciative, as I know all of the board has, of the care and the attention, right, that you give and helping us to understand this very complex ecosystem that we all live in. So best of luck to you, and wish you some rest for a little while, and best of luck. So great. Thank you. Okay, so I think that's it. Oh, sorry. Does somebody want to say something, or you're just waiting for the I think we need an emotion to adjourn the meeting. Let's be done for the year. Great job, everyone. Happy holidays. But I do need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Happy holidays to all, and I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay, roll call for a vote. Mr. Monahan?
Aye.
Lansberg?
Aye.
Mr. Miller?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion passes. Meeting adjourned. And cue the barking dogs. It's time to go. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, we'll see you next year, next month. Bye.
Good night, everybody.